Hi there, this is Unmesh from PiXimperfect. How you doing? I hope you're having a great day and making it an incredible one. Know that if you're having a bad day, you can turn it around at any second you wish. In this video, I'm going to share with you how to turn around the colors of any object to a specific hex code of your choice. You can have that exact shade and you can apply it on the surface very easily using two methods that we're going to talk about today, so that if one door opens, one door closes, another one opens. So without any further ado, let's get started. Back in the magical world of Photoshop, and if you want to go ahead and download these photos and follow along, you know what to do. Check the links in the description. A handbag is to a woman what motorcycle is to men. I had one of my classmates spend her entire first salary on a handbag. I have done worse with motorcycles. Anyway, let's say you have this shade and you want to apply this specific exact shade onto the bag. Or maybe you just have a sample or whatever you have. Let's do it one by one. First of all, we need to create a patch with that exact shade. The way we do that is choosing the rectangle tool. You can also use the circle, up to you. And let's make a rectangle like so. Now we need to color it according to this. How do we do that? Double click on the layer thumbnail and let's just type this hex code in, which is 7P4226. Or you can pick any color you want from here for whatever shade that you have. Hit OK. Now we need to create another rectangle. And we need to just match these two rectangles. But before we make that rectangle, let's make a copy of the background layer. With the background layer selected, press Ctrl or Command J. Why are we making a copy? Because you see, an object in real life, unless you're living in an alien world, does not have one smooth, flat color. It has textures, highlights, shadows. You see, we cannot sample this color. We cannot sample this color either. We cannot sample that color either. So we need to take an average of the areas that best represent the color of the bag so that we can perfectly match the averages. To take the average, you can use the lasso tool right here and just sample good areas. Not an area like this, these are the highlights, not the best representation. Not an area like this, these are the shadows, not a good representation. So let's take a sample of this area, which seems to be a good representation of the colors for the bag. Similarly, if you want to add to the selection for more samples for better averaging, hold the Shift key, it turns into lasso plus. Let's take a sample of this area from here. Now I have taken a sample of a little bit of the highlights, so also let's take a sample of a little bit of the shadows as well. Once it is done, simply go to Filter, Blur, and then Average. Keep in mind, the only reason we made a duplicate is that we could destroy it for average and reference purposes and turn it off later. Press Ctrl or Command D to deselect. Now we have this color and we have to match this color to this color. For a better representation and easier matching, we can simply create another rectangle. So let's get back to the rectangle tool again, and just below this, you can even overlap this like so. We're going to create another rectangle, and the color of this rectangle should be this one. So let's double click on the thumbnail of the rectangle and let's simply pick this one. If you're not able to pick this, you want to make sure Sample All Layers is selected. Once it is sampled, everywhere it should be the same color because it's averaged. Sample size 3x3 is fine. Averaged anyway. Hit OK once you're satisfied. Now all we need to do is focus on matching these two so that the line that separates these two rectangles vanish. Don't worry about getting the exact code because you see, objects in real life barely have the same color throughout. Now for the first method, we are going to be using Hue Saturation. Why? Because Hue Saturation allows us to target one color. If you have a color that is standing out, it's easier to use Hue Saturation than having to select everything and subtracting the chains. It's a nightmare. But when your surface is neutral or does not have any color, then Hue Saturation would not work. There's a separate method for that. We're going to talk about that later. For right now, just above this rectangle, because we are going to be changing this rectangle, we are going to create a Hue Saturation adjustment layer by clicking on the adjustment layer icon and then choose Hue Saturation. Now we need to target this red. How do we do that? Of course, we can pick the red, but it's easier to actually pick the red with the hand. So let's take the hand right there, activate that, and click in one of the averaged areas. You're fine. Even now, the targeting might not be perfect. We need to make it even more precise. So let's take the hue and saturation all the way to the right just to see which areas are being targeted. And it's targeting most of the areas, including the chains which we did not want. So let's make the selection area narrower. This is what you use to make sure that you're only targeting the areas that you want, specific sliver of that specific color. So let's make it very, very narrow, like so, and move it around just so that only the bag is selected. Now I'm going to work with sliders on the right. Let's do it this way. There you go. Now all of it is selected, but it's very harsh. A little bit of the background is selected too, but that's fine. It's very little change. You can always mask that out later. But you do notice that this is very harsh. So to make the transition between the areas that are targeted and the areas that are not targeted, to make it smoother, you use the corner sliders. The more far apart the corner sliders are, the smoother the transition would be. Similarly, let's work this area, expand it a bit. There you go, just like so, and it should work. Now, all you need to do is focus on these two rectangles. That's it. You can deactivate the hand if you wish to, and double click on Hue and Saturation to reset it. Now just focus on changing the hue, saturation, and lightness to match these two. So let's work through it. We have already gotten very close, but if you want to get it more close, you can use check layers. Click on the adjustment layer icon and then choose solid color. Create a gray solid color, maybe 808080 at the hex code, hit OK, and place it at the very top. Change the blend mode from normal to color. What that does is that it removes all the colors, lets you see just the brightness levels in a way that we perceive it. And then if you change the blend mode to luminosity, it allows you to see just the colors. So now let's first match the colors and then we will match the brightness. Let's get back to hue saturation and let's just worry about hue and saturation. Feels like an absolute perfect match. Now let's get back to the check layer and change it to color. Now you can clearly see a gap between the brightness levels. Now let's come back here and play with the lightness. Perfectly matched. Now let's turn it off and it's matching really good. And now have a look at the bag. This is so darn good. Oh my gosh. Now there are still averaged areas, so don't even worry about that. You can take this and turn it off or delete it. I'm just going to turn it off so that we have it for later. And there we have it. Perfectly colored. And if there's a color that's already standing out, like in this case, the red was standing out, hue saturation allows you to change the colors without making much of a selection or masking. A little bit change in the background is fine. Now turn off everything else that you do not need and you have that perfect shade. Now I can share with you the second method that allows you to match colors to the dot, and it's best used when you don't have much color on that object. You can use it otherwise as well, just keep in mind, it requires selections. And selections have gotten much easier in the later versions of Photoshop. Here in this example, no amount of hue saturation can change it, no matter how much you try. Click on the adjustment layer icon and then if you choose hue saturation, there is nothing really to change. It's already gray. Some of you might go that you can check color-wise. Yes, you can do that, but it won't give you this exact color. And then if you try to work with lightness, it just makes it white or black. So what do we do here? You already know, we're going to use our favorite thing in and out of Photoshop. To make it easy for you, let's select the rectangle tool or the ellipse tool, up to you, and let's draw one right on the bag. We already had selected the color. Now you can also use the info panel, but it can be very complex for beginners. So to keep it simple, we are just going to figure out the red, green, and blue values of this color. How do we do that? If you double click on the thumbnail of this layer, the color picker shows up. This is the hex code that we wanted. Just remember 123, 66, 38. If you want to write it down somewhere, you can do that as well. I'm just going to take a brush, create a new layer, and write down 123, 66, 38. Now this is what makes it super easy. The same steps, just with the background layer selected, press Ctrl or Command J. Now take the lasso tool, take an average of areas which you think best represents the color of the bag. This one, that should be fine. Maybe a little bit of this as well. Now go to Filter, Blur, Average. Or select this one which was the last applied filter, Average. There you go, Control or Command D. You can even take this ellipse and bring it right over here. You will see how incredibly it matches. Now just above the average layer, we are obviously going to create our favorite. Click on the adjustment layer icon and then choose Curves. Now take the hand right here as well. Hold the hands in Photoshop. They're going to guide you right. With the help of the hand, hold the Shift key and the Command key and click on one of the averaged areas. That's it. You will notice now that when you go to the red channel, a point is made corresponding to that area. Similarly, you would see the same for green and blue channel. Just go to the red channel and set this point to 123, which is the color of this. So this was 136, set it to 123. Let's go to the green channel. This was again 136 because it was gray. Let's set it to 66. And similarly for the blue channel, the point that was selected, let's set it to 38. 38. There you go. Now have a look. I'm going to hide that for now. Have a look. Look how incredibly this matches. It's the exact same code, exact same color. Now you can turn off what you don't need. For example, the averaged layer. You don't need this circle. Now there's one more problem. Can you tell what that problem is? I'm going to hide these numbers as well. It also colors the shadow. So we need to use what? Masking. You can actually turn off the curves if you want and just come back to this layer. Then you can select any of these three tools, object selection, quick selection, or magic. At the top, you should see select subject. You can also use the contextual taskbar. That's usually distracting to me, so I always hide the contextual taskbar. Once the selection is active, then you can turn on the curves adjustment layer and paint that with black. Press D to set it to defaults and then make sure the foreground color is black. Alt backspace or option delete to fill that area in black. Control or command D to deselect. But we wanted the opposite of this, right? The shadow is colored, the object is not. So select the mask, press Control or command I to invert it. And there we have it. Exactly in that color. So that, my friend, is the curves method of doing it. So when to use which method? If you're okay with making selections, if there isn't a lot of color variation in highlights and shadows, you can use curves. It will give you the exact thing that you want. Otherwise, if there's a color that's already standing out, you just have to change it. All you need to use is Hue Saturation. It saves you the pain of selection, especially when selections can be very complicated, like selecting between these chains or selecting the reflections of the bag in the chains. The approach is simple. Take a sample of the color that you want. Paint a blob, make a patch, do whatever. Then average the best representations from the surface and then match that average with the new color. That's it. And it would be very beneficial to you if you mastered the core of curves and hue saturation. I have videos on both of them, so next I highly recommend that you watch them if you need to sharpen your fundamentals while having fun at the same time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to give us a like, and also don't forget to subscribe, and not just subscribe. Ring the bell so that you, my friend, don't miss any other future tips, tricks, or tutorials. I'll see you in my next one. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.